anti-government protest. Tens of thousands of people have come out to demand President Mikhail Saakashvili steps down and to call new elections. But many fear a repeat of November 2007, where government forces resorted to violence to disperse the protesters. Well, let's get the latest now live from the Georgian capital. Talk to Artis Nisinawi. Hi there, Anissa. Has this rally actually started yet? And do we know how many protesters are now out and about on the streets of Tbilisi? About 150,000 were forecast, weren't they?
It has indeed begun, Kevin. So far, according to our eyes, there are several thousand people already gathered outside the Parliament building. And from our view up on this roof, we can see that tens of thousands more are marching down the main street. The opposition, of course, is promising that up to 200,000 could be here. So far, it doesn't look like it will reach that number, but certainly, like I said, it will be in the tens of thousands. Now, the opposition, as a sign of peace, are arriving, some of them and their supporters, with their hands up to show that they are coming without weapons, that this will be, at least on their side, a peaceful protest. But they do say they will stand strong, that they will be here day and night until their president, Mikhail Saakashvili, steps down. Now, like you said, there are some fears that it could end violently, like we saw in November 2007, where there was quite a serious crackdown to disperse protests, which were demanding basically the same thing, that the president resign. But so far, things seem to be under control. It has to be said, though, this is only the beginning, of course.
Yes, how tight is security there today, Nissa, and does it seem that there could be trouble with the police later?
There could be trouble. There's very high security. All mass transport in the center has been blocked off. Basically, the whole main street now is filled with people. So we'll have to see how it unfolds. The political tension, of course, in the capital and in the government is felt. People on the streets talk about it. You can feel this buzz in the capital that perhaps something could happen. No one really knows what it's going to be. This morning, the president, Mikhail Saakashvili, was at the Parliament building. He laid flowers at a memorial to those who died 20 years ago in an anti-Soviet demonstration, where he mentioned that this is a democracy and that people, of course, will have different opinions.
We are a democratic country, and every person can have their own opinion. But one thing is absolutely clear. No matter how different our opinions on one issue or another are, we have the same motherland. And we need the unity of our motherland. We have to work for the good of our motherland, day and night. Our work has to bring us to the point where our country is free. We need to build a democratic, free European state. This is what people died for under Russian tanks, and also last year during the conflict with Russia. This is what they fought for, the freedom and unity of Georgia.
Now, I had a chance earlier to speak to someone who worked very closely with Mikhail Saakashvili years ago as his foreign minister. She is now the head of one of the opposition parties here today, and she says Georgia is very far from a democracy. In fact, it's very corrupt, and that's why they're here.
He is unable to manage now the economy, and is unable to recuperate the trust of the population, which is an integral part of being able to govern the country. Plus, now he's going to have the demonstration of the fact that we know, but we've been unable to prove, that probably 70 to 90% of this population is now against and wants the departure of this government.
That was Salome Zurabashvili, one of the opposition leaders, who is here today demanding that Mikhail Saakashvili step down. And like I said, thousands, tens of thousands, they're saying hundreds of thousands are expected. We'll have to see how it all turns out. But according to them, they could be here for quite a long time.
So what's Mr. Saakashvili's reaction been? How seriously is he taking this message from opposition groups?
It's really not clear, because over the past couple of weeks he's been relatively quiet about this, and that seems to be what is scaring people, because no one really knows what's going to happen. People are expecting that he could perhaps use force. Other experts are saying, why would he do that when everybody is kind of expecting it and watching so closely? So it's really hard to say which moves he will take. He's known to be quite erratic in the past. We know that in November 2007, he chose violence to disperse these protests. This morning, like we just heard, he says that it's a democracy. People are allowed to speak their minds. But we haven't there's no real concrete predictions as to what is going to happen, and that's what makes this so interesting.
Okay, very much across this story with your help, closer looking at what's happening there in Tbilisi. Coming back to you later. For now, Nissa Nawi, thanks very much. Let's take another look at those pictures. Our camera's trained on there now. Just to remind you what you're seeing, a live event, news event happening this very moment on RT. Tens of thousands of people have joined this protest in the Georgian capital. These are live shots coming through to us now. They are calling, just to remind you, on President Mikhail Saakashvili to resign and call new elections. Opposition leaders blaming Saakashvili for last summer's disastrous war with Russia, South Ossetia and Abkhazia. They say he can't lead the country forward because of his antagonistic relationship with Moscow. They instead want closer ties with Europe and America, but also with Russia. Now, Mr. Saakashvili, for his part, says he's refusing to step down until his term ends in 2013. Both Mr. Saakashvili's former Parliament Speaker and Georgia's ambassador to the UN have, in recent months, turned against him. These are the latest pictures coming through. As I say, we're monitoring this situation very closely for you. Stay with us for the latest. And staying with that main story, fraudulent elections and human rights violations, leading Georgian human rights activist Soza Subari tells us at RT, who's to blame?
The president himself, who has established an authoritarian and theocratic regime and wants the entire country to be centered around him, around what he says, who wants his words